Glad tidings to you and your kin in the spirit of the season. And in the spirit of giving, the Royals gave us 3 points as an early present as Liam's men rose to the giddy heights of 15th place, live at the Madstad against the Luton Town side, who are also scrapping for their lives as well. As you can tell, I'm back. Sort of a bit.
Scrapping for their lives or scrapping in the stands? What's the... I might have just blown the punchline. Yeah.
The police are involved now, Ross.
Wow.
Criminal investigations, I think.
Royal Berkshire Police, you don't want to muck with them. That's a community support police officer who'll muck you up. I don't mean that. If anyone's listening.
The big question is, did you miss me last week?
I did miss you, but I am starting to wonder, and listeners heard me talk about this, so sorry, but I am starting to wonder if you've learned a few things from Kevin Nolan, who was amazing at getting a red card just before Christmas, because clearly he had things to do. He had stockings to stuff, he had sleigh bells to ring and all that kind of good stuff. Maybe Kevin Nolan is Father Christmas, though, and that's what was going on. He needed the time off.
You can still tell I'm not quite there. Like last week, the voice was
I can always tell you're not quite there, mate. Like that's...
You can sound it though. I sound, like nasally. You can feel it. You can feel it through the Atlantic winds.
When we spoke to Noel around this time last year, I feel like you guys were both sick at that time. And some of that conversation was just discussion of how sick the both of you were. And of course, by October, we were all sick of his football.
We were.
So, there's
for me, it's a hazard of the job. Honestly, this time of year, it's always get ill just before Christmas.
We're like touring musicians, you got to keep that voice safe. It's like Freddie Mercury touring across America, whatever. You got to keep that voice box velvety to make sure you can hit all the tones.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. So I'm on the water and the soft drinks.
Are you on your way back to health then? You feeling a little bit better?
I'm getting there. I think I sound worse than I actually feel, but I'm definitely getting there.
All right. Well, listeners, please do send some nice wishes for Ben, because he's not getting it from the rest of the TTE group.
Exactly right.
So the listeners will have to step up to the plate there. But I think
also, before we start properly, I haven't been on for 2 weeks, but in between the last podcast we did and the one you did last week without me, which is, it is what it is. Needs must, I guess.
Yeah.
If you were the person who I bumped into, and this is going to sound horrifically middle class, but if you were the person who spoke to me whilst I was in John Lewis shopping for shirts, nice. I didn't catch your name, but thank you for your very kind words. I didn't buy the shirt, but I appreciate your comments about the pod, and not instantly go, Ross is really good, isn't he? So I really appreciate that.
Why didn't you buy the shirt? Just out of interest?
Didn't want to, mate. I don't need to. Do you know what I mean? I do what I want.
Not made of money. Like,
exactly right. Blooming John Lewis prices as well, I'll tell you.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was really good to chat to you very briefly. So thank you for your kind words. And of course, we're not mouthpieces for the club, despite what certain people think we are. But there is a pop-up shop currently in John Lewis, which is available now for your Christmas gifts.
It's the house of Liam Fraser.
It's the house of Liam Fraser. Yeah, well, almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was just a kind of a preamble to this pod, which is 444. We're on 444. Can you believe it?
Yeah, magic number.
Recently passed 100 pods together, didn't we, as well?
We did recently pass 100 pods together, and I'm happy to have you here to actually remember what the number of the podcast is, because if you listen, did you listen last week? Right. Okay. You're on this pod. Like, okay, sure. Yeah. I couldn't remember the name of
I was going to. I just I ran out of time and I just thought,
coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Can't listen to these two clowns flapping away. So, but yeah, I probably will go back and have a look. I was gutted I missed Bobbins. I like Bobbins. I like talking to him. It's
Bobbins is good.
He's quite level-headed, isn't he? He's quite good for the for the older clientele. He has a language about him, which is
well, and I think too that like his language actually sounds quite TTE pod, which I said to him on the pod as well. But in any case, it was good to have him. Do go back and listen. People are calling it the best pod of the year, and you can get some stellar analysis in there.
Yeah, you don't have to part with my pathetic excuse of a presenting vibe.
No, we missed you. So
stop it.
All right. get through the presenter bit so that I can sit here quietly. And,
yeah, exactly.
we'll
Well, let's do the roll call. So we are on episode 444 of the Tilehurst podcast. We are very close to Christmas. This will be the last one we do before Father Christmas turns up, obviously, because we're not going to got nothing else to talk about in between now and Christmas Day. We are very thankful to ZT Said Films, who continue to sponsor us, and of course the Amazons, who lend us one of their mega tracks. They've had a great year, haven't they? They've had an absolutely stellar year. So it's been a real big year for them.
It's great. I think Matt was excited when we spoke to him around this time last year. So I'm glad it's worked out for them. Yeah.
We are going to head straight into the recap of a Luton Town win. Desperately needed. I'm going to blow my nose in that short break, and we'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
2 shakes of a reindeer's tail, because the reindeer were at the ground last time, which is still the thing I'm most jealous about.
Oh, yeah, they were there. Right, welcome back to the Tilehurst podcast. I've just blown my nose. Hopefully Ross edits that out of the YouTube clip video. Obviously, if he doesn't, I apologise to everyone who's had to witness that. I did say 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Ross reminded me that it's actually reindeer season. And we did have 2 reindeers at the ground on Thursday night, which was wonderful. Wonderful to see.
It's always one of my favorite things. Like, I know it's a little bit, reindeer having, I'm sure it's not fun for the reindeer, but like,
well, there were a lot of people around. I know Sim was wittering on about people not being around, but there was loads when I was there.
Yeah.
It was nice time. Still haven't got over the micro pigs from earlier on in the season.
Now imagine micro reindeer. That's when we know it'll be really everything's coming up Millhouse.
Anyway, let's talk about some flipping football. 3-2 win against the Hatters. Stupid nickname. Never understand it. I'm sure someone will be able to tell us.
I'm only okay with it because they do actually have a silly little wicker hat on the top of their badge. And it's like, commit to the bit. Like, if you're going to do something silly, do something silly.
Yeah, well,
anyway, let's talk about this game.
Massive win, really, really big win for us. I think, we haven't seen a lot of resilience in the team this season, and we showed a lot in the game. We can pick the bones out of it, pretty straightforwardly, really. Went 2-0 up, blew the 2-0 lead, had to rely on one of our favourites, our collective favourites, Big Kelvin, Long Kelvin, up top to secure the win. I guess the first question really was what? So I didn't have this crap last week, did you? People mispronouncing your name.
Yeah.
I guess the first question really, did we deserve the win?
Did we deserve this win? Yeah, I think so. And again, like, I think that a lot of what we've talked about with Liam so far is kind of having good periods in the game and not necessarily having the fitness. Maybe it's that, or whatever it is, not having the concentration levels, the chemistry with the game plan yet, or whatever, to get through like a whole 90 minutes playing at that same level. And no team is going to play at the same level in a game for the full 90 minutes. But, you want to game plan out a little bit so that you have periods of, intense attack and periods of control and periods, when you are trying to push the tempo a little bit. I feel like Gareth Southgate's England was one of the best examples of this, because when it was slow and controlled under Gareth Southgate, it was really slow. So you could really tell the difference between like the early stages of his game plan, where he would let the players go for it for 10 minutes and then like slow down. Liam kind of has a similar thing going on, I think, to a degree, whereby he wants the players to really go for it in the first 10, 15 minutes of a game. And they do often come out looking really, really up for it. Kyerewaa obviously won a penalty to get Reading on the way nice and early in this game. And that's the second penalty in 4 games that Kyerewaa has won for this team. And I think that he's just got that little bit of rapid acceleration that really lets him just push ahead and get just get his body ahead of, the player. If there's VAR, by the way, I'm not 100% sure if that's a penalty, because, they'll tell you some nonsense about him going away from goal or whatever. And he has essentially just kicked it out of play and let himself get taken down by the goalkeeper. But I absolutely do not care.
In the EPL, I think they would have reviewed that and chucked it out, to be honest.
Yeah. But there was
the goalie's been really clumsy, and he's made the most of it. And listen, from where I was sat, I was kind of almost straight behind it. It's difficult to look past the fact that it wasn't a penalty, if that makes sense. I would have given that all day long. But I think if there'd been reviews, cameras, everything else, and I'm dead against VAR, by the way, just for the record. I think it's ridiculous. I really do.
Okay.
We don't need it in football. I know that everyone's like, oh, it enhances the game. It doesn't enhance the game. I don't think any
It's
games I've seen it,
typical.
you're all second guessing it. So for me, don't bring League One or the Championship with VAR.
I think the problem with VAR and maybe down in the Championship or whatever, it's not really appropriate. And maybe you pull it out the FA Cup for that reason too, because, not everyone can have it. I don't really mind VAR that much, but I live in America where every sport has had some version of VAR for a very long time. But football flows more than like most of the American sports. The only one that is, I would say basketball's got a lot of timeouts. Hockey kind of moves with the same sort of speed as soccer, if not like, even like a little bit faster.
All right, Kevin Hart, calm down.
I know, I'm sorry. But I think that it's the speed of football that really is the issue with VAR. In any case, way off the Reading versus Luton game here. I thought that this was pretty good from Reading. The back four were really the thing to write home about in the first half for Reading. I thought they were very, very compact. And Yiadom, if you went and look at his kind of average position map, you can just see much, much more central and much more conservative. That really was the word for me than Brafer has been in recent weeks. I think that Brafer, when Liam came in, looked to me, and I think others, that he really had a chance to kick on, because it looked like that that sort of setup whereby one of those fullbacks is going to be able to go really, really high would very much benefit a Brafer. And you can see at times in the second half where he is able to get into some decent positions, but just not able to defend in the same way that Yiadom was. And Yiadom was not exceptional in this game, but he was where he needed to be at the right times. Often, a few times where he would come back through the middle of the box off the 6-yard line and clear it, well out, which a Brafer and Dorset, I think we've had issues with them being just a little, a couple feet behind the player. Yiadom was coming at it, goal side first, block the shot, and we'll play from there, basically, which we know he can push forward, but it's good to see that he can be used in this more sort of conservative way moving forwards. The funny thing I thought, though, so after obviously Reading have gotten 2 goals up and then not so long after conceded 2 to go back to 2-2, I'm not really sure what was going on that allowed, I'm going to call him Father Christmas because he brought the gifts, Derek Williams, to be the man who was found up in the half space and high. But that did look like something that the team were actually coached to do and trying to do, because it looked to me like it was something cooked up from what are we going to do if we are able to get Pereira quite far out of goal and he can hit the ball far down the pitch, because it was a long right rip, but very odd. It kind of reminded me of David James being put up front for Man City. Obviously, centre back and a goalkeeper, very different skill sets. But in any case, good to see Derek Williams show a pretty nice piece of skill to take that ball down and then cushion it into the space in between the centre backs for Kelvin. And I wrote this in the ratings, and I think that Kelvin was poor at other times during this game. But that finish and that run, that is pure center forward play. And there have been many times this year where we've said, is Kelvin a center forward? I'm not so sure. And I think that the reason that he's still getting those chances is because he himself wants to be, that center forward. He wants to do that. This is the kind of thing that he needs to show. What he did was he found, he managed to open up some space right in between the center backs, take it away from both of them with his first touch, and then, finish. And that's everything you want. That's basically what Marriott did on the other side of the box for his goal as well. He had one touch to settle himself and get away from the pressure, and then one touch to hit it in the net. That's what you're looking for. So with Kelvin now, it's a case of, can we be consistent? Can we do that again? Because I don't think Marriott had an exceptional first half. I do think that, Marriott had an incredible goal scoring start to his Reading career, but he is still going to be a limited player, at the age that he is. So Kelvin, unless we're going to sign someone exceptional in January, Kelvin is going to be with this team now, at least for the rest of the year. And it's good to see him score a goal that I would call like a proper striker's goal in this game.
Well, we could talk, or I could certainly talk with you for the next 2 hours around this game. I think there are a number of things for me, really. The first issue is that there's no width in the team. We said on the chat during the game, we were watching it on Thursday, that we're a lot more compact. And when you look at the 3 goals, they all came from a starting point really from down the middle. Now that's fine, but for me, the players that we want on the ball in the middle, in terms of Savage and wing, and not being allowed to do that, because from what I can see with this, these Liam Richardson teams at the moment for Reading, they're not allowed to play in front of the ball at all. But the issue is that if you're asking them to get the ball kind of further deep in the pocket, they're not receiving that, because Pordy and Des, and I'm not sold on that partnership at all, particularly with Pordy at the moment. I don't see the player that we thought we were getting at this stage. They just want to lump it. So what for me, what's happening is they're getting the ball and they're just bypassing the two of the most creative players we've got in the team, particularly in terms of wing anyway, and it's just bypassing them altogether. The problem is that when they put it out to the wings or they go up front, there's nothing to stop the ball from coming straight back. And then Wing and Savage are almost in. There's almost like a four-man central defence for me at the moment, which is ridiculous, because when you look at the amount of creativity that Wing and Savage have, between them last season.
See, you weren't part of our debate. That's what So
why are we not trying to get him? Why are we not getting him on the ball? Like he seems intent on wanting to play them. Great, because if you're looking at our team overall, if you're looking at higher ups in terms of taking players, Pereira, Savage, Wing to a certain extent are in that mix, but they're not being allowed to play to their strengths. They're not being allowed to get the ball in the middle and then move it accordingly. They always have to play behind the ball, and that's a problem, because we're just inviting pressure down the middle. And you look at Monsters Inc. on Thursday night. He kind of almost started the penalty because he ran the ball through the middle rather than going down the right hand side. So it just seems a little bit disjointed still.
You're not wrong, by the way. Just to give you some numbers to back this up. For the XG for the game.
Don't start about
I know. I'm backing you up. I'm backing you up.
Well, yeah, but I feel like Paul Ince, when I'm talking about, don't talk about XG.
80% of Reading's attacks, 80% of Reading's creativity through the middle in this particular game. And you are spot on. They went way more compact in this game. If you go and look at the average positions, Yiadom is basically like giving Pordy O'Connor a little kiss on his cheek as he's going.
But I agree with you. I think Yiadom was all right. I think he was good.
But I think partly Yiadom was good because he was covering Pordy's lack of pace. And I do think that Pordy's lack of pace is an issue. Now, a couple other quick things. They went very wide in the Bradford game and it got them killed through the middle. And I think that this particular lineup was a direct response to that, to say, okay, look, we're going to go really narrow in this game. Randell Williams on the right had an average position pretty much in line with Wing, who's obviously playing a more right central position. Kyerewaa was quite far out left, but his most impactful moment in this game was the penalty where he's kind of come inside as well. And I'm not sure if Wing actually meant to push the ball forward for him in the way that he did, and got a little bit lucky. Kyerewaa, his average position is out wide, but he didn't, for me, do a whole lot else in the rest of this game, which was a little bit concerning. But for me, the problem with Wing is, I really don't want to say like his legs have gone, but his legs have kind of gone a bit. Like the first Luton goal, is it, where he's sliding back in and he's just behind the play and he slides it into the guy. Yeah.
The counter argument for me in terms of getting Lewis Wing on the ball and doing the stuff he does well is that there were times on Thursday where some of his passes were like, that's the sort of thing I'd do on a five-a-side pitch. I don't want to run anymore, so I'll just lump it. And I don't know if it was a miscue or what, but it was just so uncharacteristic. I know you two talked about it last week, and there's a lot of debate around Lewis Wing and his role at the moment, but I just don't understand why you don't push one of them up a little bit more, because they are so deep all the time and they're so behind the play and the ball all the time. You're just stifling creativity in the team, and that would be all well and good if we had wingers that were electric and were like really, on their fullback's case and were just charging up and down the flanks, and they're not doing that. Kyerewaa, all right, I know he had a great game against Blackpool. I watched it. I thought it was good. People there thought it was absolutely excellent. I know a lot of Blackpool fans rated him as well. I think he's been a poor signing for this league. I really do. I
don't know where you're getting that. I think he's been great. I just
don't see it.
I think there'll be several people looking at Kyerewaa in the summer. I think we could struggle.
I'd love to be wrong.
I think we might struggle to keep Kyerewaa in the summer, because I think that he just gives you something a little bit different. Like the Blackpool win doesn't happen without him. Again, 2 penalties in 4 shows that there's something about him.
But it'll travel 20, 30 yards and he'll just lose the ball.
Yeah, but you need one or two players in your team that's going to do something and attempt something like that, because Liam's tried this with Abrafa, he's tried this with Yiadom, he's tried this with Randall Williams, and they will not take players on. But Kyerewaa, he will lose the ball, yeah, but he will take players on sometimes, and he will get around them. We've gotten a goal out of it in the last 4 games. We've gotten 2 penalties out of it in the last 4 games. I agree that he is inconsistent and frustrating. Like, I was really frustrated in the last... I thought he was basically not in the game after the first 15 minutes against Luton. But you know who he reminds me of? Femi Aziz, who is a player that sputtered and sputtered and sputtered throughout his Reading career for the first 2 years. And then eventually it all just kind of came together and bash, 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 on we go. So for me, with Kyerewaa, I would be looking at getting him signed up before February, because I don't want, I don't want anyone else sniffing around him anytime soon.
But I look at that spot, right, and I think, and you're going to go name them, and I literally, for the life of me, cannot remember. But having watched a lot of the under-21s and the under-18s this year, I'm thinking, if we were going to go down that road of an untested player, why not just chuck in one of the youth players?
Because what you're watching is them playing against U21 and U18 defenders who are... the level of a U21 attacker versus an adult attacker, there's less distance, in my opinion, between that than there is between Derek Williams and Michael Stickland. There's so much difference.
Well, Derek, that's a bad
comparison, but you get my point.
Derek Williams is Derek Williams, and on the whole, he's been a great signing, and he's certainly one of,
Do you want to know something funny about Derek Williams? The longest average pass distance in the team against Luton.
There you go.
Which it's not really what I see about him at all. I see him as a guy who's quite good at switching the play quite quickly.
Yeah, but for me, he's not a ball player. He will just lump it like baldy, but he does the defensive stuff really well.
Can I tell you what he does that I adore? And every time he does this, Des, I'm like, oh, Des, hold me. He, the thing that he does that's amazing, he is so, so, so good at knowing when, his center back who stepped up has been beaten and the ball is about to be played around the side of them. He's incredible at just stepping across a second before the pass gets played, and thus arriving in that space to intercept the pass before it gets there. He's just so good at this. Porty O'Connor would not work at all if Derek Williams was not in that team right now, because Derek is just covering him so much. I really like him. I don't know what it is about Des, but he's just...
I think he just oozes on with it. He's got aura, as the kids would say. He's got aura.
He does, yeah. Even though he always looks like he's crying a little bit, but he does just have aura, yeah.
He just looks like a good bloke as well. Do you know what I mean? You could have a good conversation with him about something.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Long Kelvin as well, because he's been, much maligned in recent weeks. From a number of different corners of the Reading FC sphere, if you like. Why is he getting so much heat at the moment?
Because he's the only option, I also, to be clear with the listeners here as well, in the TTE group chat in recent weeks, I've been talking smack about Kelvin and stuff like that, especially after, I think it was the week from hell, in inverted commas, which again, I mean that very facetiously, but I think it was after that he was really getting a lot of, sort of negative comments and stuff like that. I was kind of wondering at that stage about the 2-year deal that he got. I think that with Kelvin, it's kind of like that Femi Aziz paradox again, where it's we know he can be good. We've seen some really impressive things from him, and we want that consistently. And he's just one of those frustrating players that isn't consistent, but can score goals that nobody else in the team can score. Yeah. He's kind of like a Lucas Schwau, we've said many, many times, in that he will have these large periods where he's just not really doing much at all to help the team. But then will suddenly, explode out and do something incredible that no one else can do. And to that point, obviously, he won us this game. He had the lowest successful actions rate of anybody on the pitch during this game. It just, came for him. And as I said, I've just praised his goal to the hilt for being excellent attacking play.
It's a great finish. Weird. And I was really, really pleased. Look, we've done it. I've done it. There are players that we've gone, no thanks. I've literally just said it about Kyerewaa, but we are, despite the amount of players that we have in certain positions in terms of stockpiling, centre midfielders, for example, there is an element around the core of players that just aren't good enough, and that speaks to a wider thing that we can talk about moving into January around recruitment and recruitment needs and what they did and didn't do. But for Kelvin, to answer kind of my own question, I think the reason he's getting so much heat from fans and other people is that he's having to play a position that is not really naturally his. And because we've got no one else there, like we've got Jack Marriott as a striker. That's it, really.
Yeah.
Like there's no one else at the moment you can rely on. Liam, I pose this question to you guys in the chat. Like, I don't think he's sold on bringing these youth players through, certainly while we're kind of in and around the relegation area, which I think I get it. I understand that, but I would like to see some confidence placed in some of these youth players that are all right in some respects, and they can't be any worse than some of the players we've got currently, on our books, even temporarily. So I think there's a lot of stuff to come out in the wash in the next few weeks. And, just touching on that recruitment thing, my issue with Liam at the moment is he keeps talking about January like it's going to be the golden goose. And it's not. It's just not, because there aren't going to be the players available. The more he keeps talking about it, the more he eventually prices us out of situations or puts the price up of our potential targets. And I think it's disrespectful to some of those players. Some of them don't know whether they're coming or going. And as a result, they're not going to be able to kind of positively give their best overall. So I think, they're almost the club. Either he's being really clever and backing the top office into a situation where he goes, I need X amount to go and get these players, and getting them, forcing them to spend money. On the flip side of that, he does that. He has to make it work as a manager. Like he just has to go and make that shopping list and those personnel points work. Rinamoto, who's brought him back. Yeah. It's not.
Rhino.
What's happened there?
Well, we talked about that last week. We basically think he's just been waiting until, our thought is basically he probably wasn't particularly ready to go before AFCON, and then they've been waiting for AFCON to come and go so that Rhino can play after that.
Now he's pulled out, hasn't he? So
he's pulled out of that as well.
God, you're supposed to keep up with the news. I say to you all the time.
You're supposed to keep up with the podcast. Don't tell me about the news. You don't even listen to the pod.
He's pulled out.
I do think that he's already been kind of like backed in a way, because he's got Randall Williams and he's got Rinamoto in there. And if he wants to bring in anyone else, I think we've established he would need to let players go, right? Yeah. So obviously Marco Mani and Matty
That's a question that we're going to come up to in a minute. Someone's posed that question.
No, I mean, he's gone. Like, there's no way. I would say December 31st, he'll be outside the door of Brighton training ground or whatever. And same for Matty Jacob and Hull. The one that's kind of a little bit more worrying for me, I think it's kind of funny that you mentioned, I don't know why Kyerewaa is a good signing. Paddy Lame for me. What's going on with him? Like, you spent money on that player as well. And, in terms of like a scouting job done versus the Kyerewaa one, I'd call that poor recruiting versus Kyerewaa personally. And I think that a lot of the recruiting is just tied to, they've talked about like having to lean on Noel a little bit through the summer. I do think the recruiting was poor over the summer. And I think that's part of why we're in the predicament we're in now. I think at the time back in like September and stuff, I wasn't necessarily saying that. And I was wrong. I think the recruitment was pretty poor. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was just like a lack of like physical scouting being done, because, now we're AI scouting everyone like idiots. Like, there clearly just wasn't the legwork done on the injuries. Go ahead,
I would love to get, so I reached out to the club a couple of weeks ago and I said, look, it would be really good. We got a few gaps in games and stuff. It'd be good to get people from the club on. The head of AI was suggested to us.
No, I'm a grumpy goose.
No, but what I'm saying is I think it would be a real positive thing to get that individual on the pod. Because you obviously have a massive issue with it, and I understand where you're coming from. I just, as everyone knows, we're big fans of Moneyball, right? We understand that process, we like that process, but there needs to be an element of that recruitment where it's not just about numbers; it's about, is there a feel for the spot in terms of League One football? And this league, I said it last time. Well, I say last time I was on, but the last time I hosted. It's not very good. It's very, very poor in actual fact. And you obviously challenged me on that, and that's fine. But there needs to be some differential that's going to allow us to get up the table. I still think we've got some of those players in the team already, but it's not consistent enough. And Liam's got to find his rhythm really quickly with this team, and the recruitment people, whether that's the AI, whether that's Jay Jacobson, whether that's Brian Carey, I've really got to have a good January and hope that these players work, because serious questions are going to be asked of him otherwise.
Dialing back though, just like to use a disgusting business term, like giving it the 10,000 feet view or whatever. Liam's come in. Obviously, we had the awful Carlisle result, and the less Matty Jacobs said about that, the better. But since then, what else have we done? We've scored 3 goals twice for the first time. I mean, I think we did. I think we did that twice overall under Noel. We've done it twice already. Obviously, not as secure at the back, and we'd like to get that sorted out. But since Liam came in, we've won. What we won? We won 3. We've drawn 1, and we've lost 2. And those 2 losses came in the same week, in the same 4 days, basically. Now, I do think tactical mistakes were made for the Bradford game. Liam likes to try and match up, sort of like man for man with his press, and I think that approach sold him down the river against Bradford, because the Bradford manager knew he was going to do that, and then basically built his plan to attack that back. And again, I think that particular time, Luke Williams had really exposed that you can go at Reading in that space between Porty O'Connor and wing. It does not surprise me to see Yiadom so close to Porty O'Connor in that sort of average position thing against Luton, against a team that we probably expected to not have the ball against for a large period of the time. Yeah, I thought that overall, I just think overall things are getting a little bit better, but I'm completely with you in that he needs to stop talking about January and recruitment, because like some of the frustration in the fan base right now is off the back of the summer and like feeling like they were promised all of these exciting signings and things like that, and the owner telling us things that are just not true, like only Jack Merritt was available and he was only available on this day. Not true.
Yeah, it's not true.
It's not how football works. They need to make sure that they get the communication around the next transfer window correct, and January is not really a great time to do that much business anyway. So I would definitely not be talking about it a lot if I was Liam. I do think that it's not the best strategic, it's not the most political way of talking. Let's put it that way. So managing the media is as much of a thing as managing the fan base, managing the media, managing the personalities. All of these things are just as important as like managing, the actual team and the tactics and things like that. And we could have done a much savvier job of that this year.
Yeah,
From everyone involved.
I think it is a little bit too early to judge him yet, but it's not. I wouldn't say that his start has been sparkling as manager of Reading. That would be my assessment of that. I just think there are certain things that I look at and go, I don't know. There was, the thing obviously at Bradford, you guys probably talked about it, but when he said, I haven't learned much or whatever. I know that was slightly taken out of context, but it's just leading it open to a fan base that is a bit
about being media savvy.
Yeah, it's just not really the right thing to say at that point. Everyone loves a bit of honesty, but also we want to be convinced that the person that's answering these questions and putting the team on the field is going to be the one. We've
wanted communication for years, and we've got the fire.
Yeah, no, we're picking holes in it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
no, but like you're right. No, but like they doesn't, just because we wanted communication doesn't mean that we wanted the fire hose, right? We want the curated.
True.
Like you still want that professionalism, and like I think one of our issues with Noel was that like when he communicated, he never sounded confident. Like and that's that professionalism as well. And I know that people in football, I mean, I work in football as well, and so I meet a lot of people who have got some wild ideas of what professionalism is, and that definitely exists within football. But still, like, there is a way to talk that can stop heat from hitting your back, and, if you say things that are going to, as Salah would say, start fires, you're going to start fires, especially in the, the internet age. So, yeah. Well, at least now we know that Liam, watches and listens to podcasts and things in the Reading area, rather than putting his game plans together.
I don't think he'd be listening. I'd love to get him on. I would love to get him on to have a conversation with him, because we've done all right over the last couple of years with managers and stuff. So I'd like to get him on to have a chat. I really would. We'll see.
Maybe one day.
We're gonna get into the mailbag. I've got some stuff on Twitface. You've got some stuff in actual
got emails, mate. I'll get the letter opener.
Bloody love an email.
Bloody love an email.
So we'll do that, and then let's do that right now. Why am I faffing? Let's get on with it. Right, welcome back to episode 444 of the Tilehurst podcast with myself, Ben
444,
Thomas,
played
and
by
him.
Vin Diesel.
Stop interrupting! I'm trying to introduce you or reintroduce you.
Sorry.
Him, Ross Webber, who's in a very chatty mood.
Hello.
There's a few bits on Twitter, so we're going to go through those now. Alistair, welcome back to the mailbag. How do Reading become more consistent in games? I feel like we have good periods that sometimes win us games, but then the level drops massively, normally in the second half. Is that down to player quality, management, or just what happens at this level of football? I like that last bit about is that just how League One is? I think
There's a
it
degree,
is in
isn't
some
there?
respects. There's a big, if you did a study of performance drop off in League One games, I think there's a general pattern, isn't it?
Do you know the time I think the most, like, oh, it's League One, is when, like, they make, like, the other team does, like, a really good move and they make it to, like, the edge of our box or something like that. And then some winger or whoever that I've never heard of puts it, like, in Swindon with the finish. And that is the moment when my brain most goes, League One, innit? It's League One. So I can't even imagine what's going on any lower. Hello, Alistair, by the way. Alistair was one of our coaches at Portland Youth Soccer this year. So thank you to Alistair. He gets involved on the WhatsApp for the club as well. He's normally watching the games from a brewery out here in Maine, which is fun. So anyway,
You thinking the same Alistair?
Pardon?
You thinking of the same Alistair?
I'm wondering if I'm not now. Yeah, I'm wondering if I was thinking of Alistair Lawson, who's often who says something.
It's not.
Oh, all right. Well, cut
You've
this.
made yourself look like a right egg now, haven't you?
Cut that
bit out. Anyway, stop making people up and answer the flipping question, man.
It's something to do with, I think it's fitness related. And I said last week, like, I kind of feel like the team are having a preseason out on the field right now, like with Liam, basically. And I think that part of the reason that Randell Williams is getting into the team every week right now is because he's one of the few players who's fit enough to do what Liam wants him to do off the ball. Like, I don't think that Randell Williams has been outstanding or even amazing. Like, I again prefer Kyerewaa to Randell Williams in the last few games. But he does seem to get through the work off the ball. And one of the few times when he didn't get through his work off the ball, he arrives behind the player who scores one of Bradford's goals in that particular game when he was kind of running back. So again, a player that Liam, clearly is trying to trust to do some work off the ball. I think there's a fitness thing. And I think that, like, that fitness thing, when you get to like minute 60 in a game, it can really, really start to muck with your head in the same way that it will muck with your legs or all these kinds of things. And it's like, I mean, if you've ever played football, like an hour in, you go to, make a quick turn one way and your brain doesn't react in the same way that it did half an hour ago even. And just to kind of like back that up, in the period that Reading conceded both of their goals against Luton, they just got sloppy. Their pass accuracy just drops hugely. They went from above 70% pass accuracy throughout the entirety of the first 60 minutes. And then it dropped all the way down below 60 to 58. So they really, really got sloppy for that little bit of time. And I think part of that comes down to tiredness. The thing that kind of stopped though, at the time that the pass accuracy went back up in the last 15 minutes of the game, when Reading had switched to this sort of like 5-3-2, long pass share went up to the highest amount that it was all day. So it's really weird the way in which Reading use long passes right now, because there are times in the game when Liam is actually quite good at getting them to, if a team's really coming onto them trying to score like Luton were, Liam is quite good at finding ways to get a ball over the top of like a pressing midfield. And in this particular case, obviously, he found a ball to Derek Williams that was clearly from some set play from when Pereira is going to hit it long. So kind of interesting, but yeah, they need to stop getting sloppy. And I think it's related to fitness.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question.
It is a good question.
I think we've talked time and again about the quality or lack of quality in the league, and it's probably more likely that it's part of the way teams are. They're just going to have those games, really.
Yeah.
He comes back with a second question. It's a fun Christmas question. There you go.
Okay, let's go.
Get your laughing gear around this one, Ross. What's the most important element on a Christmas dinner plate, and do you put Yorkshire puddings on them? Right, I'm going to
Yes.
go first on this one because you'll say something like, we have like marshmallow puree or something on it. So I'm going to say
Fluff.
yes to
Do
Yorkshire
you mean?
puddings. Yeah, fluff, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Fluff.
100% Yorkshire puddings.
Yep.
100% Yorkshire puddings. The most important element for me is the turkey. A lot of people go, oh, turkey. I really like turkey. I
I
love
like
turkey and
turkey.
cranberry sauce. Like I really, really like turkey as long as it's done well. Or
Mm.
not well, but like there's a bit of a bite in it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the thing for
It's like a
me, the
fruity
kicker
one.
for me is bread sauce. I absolutely love bread
Interesting.
sauce. And
Hey,
I couldn't tell you why. My kids are like, why are you eating that, you weirdo? They don't call me a
yeah.
weirdo. But like, I love bread sauce. I don't know why, I just do. It's just like the most blandest, weirdest thing going, and you can only get it at Christmas, to my knowledge.
It's
So,
kind of
I
similar to, I feel like it's kind of similar to that like Southern gravy they do with
yeah,
like
it
sausage
is
and biscuits and stuff in the, yeah.
very similar.
But is that a Welsh thing for you, bread sauce, or is that just like a Christmas? It is a Welsh.
It's
Okay.
a
Yeah. Cause
Christmas
I was,
thing.
okay.
I mean,
So
my nan always used to make it. So like my Welsh nan always used to make it, and it was
nice.
like it was good. And then obviously everywhere else I've had it, it just comes out of one of the plastic tubs, but it's still good. Like it's still nice, but it's not one of those things you can go back to afterwards. So you kind of make it or put it in the microwave or whatever, heat it up. You can't
Right.
then go. Do you know what I'll do? I'll reheat the bread because it's basically just this like savoury porridge, which isn't
Okay.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So
I
you
really
got to
like bread.
properly do it right then and there for the
Yeah,
little meal.
otherwise it's and it my other nan, my mum's mum
Yeah.
used to do this where she'd request all this food for Christmas Day, and like my mum would do it all, and we'd all be sat there and everything, and she'd literally have like, so one of their things was like cauliflower cheese at Christmas, bit weird,
Yeah.
and she'd
Yeah.
take like the smallest teaspoon of it and go, yeah, that's fine for me, and no one
Yeah.
else is eating the bloody thing. It's just sat there and everyone just looking at it. It's like, what's going on? So
What is going on?
yeah. Anyway, go
That's
on,
funny.
American. What have we got for
No,
you?
that's good to know. Well, I was going to say, well, I'll give you English. Heritage, my Christmas brain is kind of Yorkshire. And I've never lived up there, but my mum is from Yorkshire. And I think like Christmas kind of gets you like interacting with your I don't know, your child, the
100.
child inside of you. But it reminds you of childhood, right? Like it makes me think of like what I used to do around Christmas and things like that. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm at my most British on Christmas sometimes. So obviously my mum's from Yorkshire. Yes, Yorkshire pudding. Mum does like the big proper one sometimes for Christmas. And it is like, oh my God, like you have the whole Christmas dinner in the Yorkshire. It's like
Really?
incredible. Oh my God, so
What,
so good
inside the Yorkshire?
inside of the Yorkshire, and then you can pour the gravy on top, and you've just got, oh my God. Yeah. Yorkshire, some like a good cook from Yorkshire is a precious, precious thing. I love my mother for many reasons, but she taught me to cook. And that's one of the
Yeah.
main, I literally think of her every time I start cooking. So anyway, Yorkshire puddings, and honestly, one of my favorite things on the thing. But the thing that I will say is pigs in blankets, because pigs in blankets is not the same thing over here. It is pigs in blankets over here are basically sausage rolls, but they don't call them sausage rolls. They call them pigs in blankets for some
Well,
reason.
so it's like a
It's like a
sausage in
small
a pastry.
pastry thing. Yeah, exactly. But you buy like
Oh,
frozen
really?
pastry that comes out of like a tube, and then you like roll it around to make it like, it's
Right.
all
Okay.
very odd. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that is a
no,
bit
for
strange.
me, pigs in blankets is what I'll say. Last little quick thing I'll say for a second, because we should get back to the football really quick. I cooked the Thanksgiving turkey this year. I learned at about 5 minutes before my in-laws were about to arrive that the entire underside of the bird, the thighs and all that, were frozen. So in 5 minutes, I had to
Flash
butcher
fry it.
this thing. Yeah, no, I had to like spatchcock it so that I just had the breast and all of that kind of stuff. My God, my hands were just raw and like little
Yeah.
cuts and things. Like by the time they got in there, and they're like, "Oh, Ross, how you doing this one?" I'm like, "I'm great. I'm fine. I'm not stressed and in pain at all." So,
Honestly, ridiculous.
to all
That's
of you
so
making
funny.
Christmas dinner this year, I see you. I believe in you. It's going to be fine.
Just get it done. Just get
Yeah,
it done and
just
get
get
it
it done.
sorted.
Yeah,
Good question. I love talking about Christmas. I could talk about Christmas
I
food
love
for a whole pod.
Christmas. Yeah.
But anyway, alas, we shall not. RFC Martyr, looking at the squad and given the ongoing references to the January window, in the squad would you strengthen everywhere except goalkeeper? What players are you looking to sell or end their loan and which would you send out on loan? Well, I think we're all in agreement that we need a striker desperately, probably two, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which then leads into the fact that I would jettison with a very hefty kick Marco Mane. He's gone for me. Jacobs is gone.
Yeah.
Who else would you get? I mean, I would be very surprised if Charlie Savage is still a Reading player by the end of January. Personally,
Yeah. You think? Really?
Well, he hasn't
God,
got long left. He's in all right form. He's looking at the World Cup potentially if we can get there. You know, he's going to want to boost his profile, and I think he's done enough for the club, really.
Do you think that might not keep him at the club though? Because like he'll be thinking, can I get? Where am I going to get?
He's not looking at League One football. I just don't see that happening at the moment.
That's true. That's true. Although there's other reasons we think why Charlie's not getting.
Yeah,
Not the best of friends. Anyway,
it's not vintage. Who would I loan out? I mean,
I've got 2 loan targets for you if you like, or do you want to go ahead first? Oh my
go on.
goodness.
Yeah, no, go on.
Because I record this on a MacBook and lots of little silly icons and things come up. My 2 loan people, Ashkar Ahmed, number 1.
Yeah.
I'd like Ashkar Ahmed to go on loan. And I want Michael Stickland to go to League 2 for a half a year because we need to see if he can play against men. Because like he's been a fantastic U21 defender. Like I'm not denying that at all. U21 football and adult football are 2 very different things. I acknowledge that the step up for defenders is a lot harder than it is for attackers, in my opinion. At the adult level, I think we need to see. I think Stickland needs time with playing with men, and I don't want that to be in Reading's backline personally. So I would send Stickland on loan as well. But Ashkar Ahmed would be the number 1 for me. Make sure that he's getting game time right now because I think that he wasn't ready when he was in the team this year, but he clearly has something about him.
Second part of that question is, look, which players are you looking to sell? I wouldn't be looking to sell anybody. I don't think there is anyone in that squad at the moment where someone's going to go, I'll give you money for him. I think the only one really is Charlie Savage. I don't see any other players going. Lewis Wing's under contract for a long time. Don't see him going anyway. The only one would be a mega money, and it'd have to be mega money to break his contract, or mega money for us anyway, would be Pereira. But you don't want to be losing him. Full stop. He's irreplaceable, quite frankly.
Yeah, certainly for, I don't want to even think about having to replace Pereira right now. I think that this is a huge 6 months for Kelvin. And if Kelvin doesn't really, really kick on in the next 6 months, then he will be, the club will be looking at selling him in the summer, I would imagine, because he's one of the few saleable assets that we have right now. And I think that for me, part of the only reason why Charlie Savage is getting talked about as potentially leaving is because he's one of the few saleable assets at the club. Like I don't really see who else we have who would go for a lot of money because their stock hasn't necessarily risen since they joined Reading, right? So Charlie Savage's stock has definitely risen since he left Reading. He's played a lot of EFL football now, and I think even at championship level, Charlie Savage would be fine at a lower level championship club. I'd be surprised if he makes it to the Premier League, but I won't be like, oh my word, I never thought that would happen.
Yeah, we said that about Josh Loren, though, didn't we? And look where I know obviously Burnley aren't doing great, but
which has been awesome to see. But
great player. He's a fantastic player for us. Really, really underrated, I think, as well.
But this is another issue with the recruiting, right? Is that we've talked throughout the De Jong era about, one of the mistakes was like not accepting that we were a selling club and like holding on to players with like silly wages for far too long. You need to recruit to have players to sell as well. And that's why like partly the Daniel Kyerewaa only getting a year thing annoys me because it's like at that point we have basically no one. We still haven't really replaced Femi Aziz. And like you give him a 1-year deal so that if he's good, he's then going to test the market, like in January onwards and anyone can come in and sign him. So I think it's been a really poor job done in terms of recruitment, in terms of squad management, thinking like a year down the road, 18 months down the road, who are we going to be able to sell? Who has been improved? There ain't that many players in the team right now. Like Ben Elliott is the one where you kind of think maybe he could be the guy. Who on earth would buy Ben Elliott? Because like with the background he has, he's probably not going to want to go to like a Torquay or a Walsall or someone like that. At which point he's asking for a club maybe a little bit bigger to come in for him, and that's not going to happen because he's not playing. So even the assets that we have that are of the right age are not being used in the way that makes them saleable. So yeah, I think the squad management, it's really quite frustrating. Like, I've really turned on the recruitment in the last few weeks because it's become quite clear that we've fumbled our way into making a lot of the same mistakes that we made in the Dai Young era, which was building bloated squads of footballers. So yeah, it's madness to me that we are at
the
the
biggest
limit.
one for me is striker. You know, I know. Obviously, we were having a conversation the other day, and Sim said he's glad that we didn't rush into buying someone. But like for me, they knew about it in January. Anyone coming into the club knew that number one priority. You know, they wouldn't have just gone, "I would buy the club and then next week it's done." We know that is a protracted, long drawn out scenario. They knew that they needed a striker, and they waited and waited and waited and waited. And yeah, Jack Marritt's a good player. I don't think he's playing any higher than League One, in all due respect to him, you know, moving forward because of his age, but he's been fantastic for us. But, you know, you could have gone and got 2 Jack Marritts. Everybody knew that we needed a striker. Everyone. The minute Sam Smith left, just really winds me up. But anyway,
do we need a striker more than we need? Here's the question, right? Do we need a striker more than we need Liam Fraser and Andy Rinomhota? Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. You know, I know it sounds ridiculous and farcical to say, but they're luxury players for us. What we don't need is any more central midfield players.
Yeah,
you know, I don't understand the logic, but anyway, whatever. I think Rinomhota could come good, but obviously it's not worked out at all since he's
that
been
would
back.
be my number one. I really hope it does come good thing, because that would be a nice feel good thing for the fans too. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to moan. If we want to continue moaning about players, I got a good email from James Williams, if that works. Have you got more there?
I just had one more. Keith said, if you were scoring a report on the season so far in regards to the owner and then the manager based on performance, what would it be out of 10? So if you look at the manager, it's difficult. Obviously, I'd say Noel was well below 5.
Yeah,
which is why he's no
let's
longer
just go with that. Yeah,
with Liam, I think it's really, really difficult to score him above a 6 at the moment because of where the club is, of where some of the comments that he's made have come out, of where the team is quite stagnant. You know, there's obviously been comparisons to Hunt Ball and everything else, but I think there are games that I've looked at and gone, that's not good at all.
Yeah.
And I know there are very few clubs in this league that have a style of play, in inverted commas. But goodness me, the Carlisle game, obviously, I know was his first opportunity to get in there, but that was a shambolic. Peterborough was really bad. Bradford, you know, I think there was a few overreactions to the result in isolation because Bradford are doing well this season. Like, they're a good side. But, you know, to say, we've got a group of players that have never played here before. Like, it's not the Bernabeu, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought that was just a crazy comment to make. Really, really shows the level that we're currently at, if that's the comment from the manager, you know? So I would probably be giving him generous 6 at the moment.
I'll give him a 7.
Give him a 7. What are you saying ownership-wise? Because that's a tough one. That's really difficult.
Gosh.
And I would just like to remind you at this point that there were 9,252 people there on Thursday night.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I think that's more related to the performance on the pitch, though, and like after 2 years in League One, it's still getting worse. Like, it's still Mick McCarthying all over the place. And just quick with Liam, I'll give him a 7 because I don't think the Carlisle game was his fault. I think that was the one that we had overreactions to. I do think that the Bradford one was pretty bad because I think that the problem for me with the Posh and Bradford week is that he got out-coached twice in a week, and that really bothered me, especially because he got out-coached by Luke Williams in one of them. But in any case, owners, I want to give a friendly 5.5 to 6, maybe. I think that they've learned that it's a lot harder than they thought it was going to be. And I think that also Kuig has not been served by the fact that his entire time at Wickham came when the club were doing well. Even when, you know, they got relegated from the Championship, you know, like that was them punching a little above their weight, and they made a good fight of it as well. And they still had Gareth Ainsworth and all of that to, you know, to get behind. And regardless of what you think of that manager, he'd certainly, you know, inspired a lot of loyalty in the fan base and the club and all of those kinds of things. So I think that experience has not served Kuig, and he hasn't done the best job of managing expectations when things are going poorly. And I think also, though, like I said last week, the amount of expectation in the fan base was always going to be hard to match with just about anything other than the team competing for the playoffs from week one of the season and having the squad be in the place it should be from week one of the season. Now, for me, the biggest issue is still the recruitment. I really think now you can see the errors that were made, and it's frustrating because we've been in a place very recently where very few errors were made in recruitment. But yeah, for me, that's the biggest issue. Where are you at with the owners? You got to do a
Don't
nice
know.
day at Bearwood, so that was good.
I think some of the things they've done have been really good.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I feel at times that they are putting their energies into the wrong thing. So if we take the fireworks, for example,
Oh, yeah.
there was a lot of fanfare around that. And I don't necessarily think that there were many, if any, people that went, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to the football to watch the fireworks. It just doesn't happen.
Well, you just wait
I
for
think because we're
Louisiana
not
Day,
in.
mate. They do go to the football for the Bayou.
But my son was like, well, are they just going to get like a truck with Popeyes on it? And I'm fine with that. I love Popeyes, right? I absolutely love Popeyes. But like, just don't, it's wrong to say they've misjudged it. I just, and I've said this time and time again, and most people listening to the pod will know this. We go and watch Reading because we're Reading fans. You know, we watch them online. We invest in the time in the club because we're Reading fans, not because of the other stuff that goes on. Yeah, micro pigs are hilarious. They were lovely to see. Reindeers, fantastic, not a problem at all. Does it enhance the match day? I mean, it doesn't disenhance it, if that's even a word. But the fanfare around those things, I just think is really, really misguided. And
It's very minor league baseball. It's very American.
but we are currently at the latter part of League One, and we have been for a while. Yeah, okay, we nearly got playoffs last season, but we're not storming this league at all. We've not been playing well for a number of years. There is a lot of repairing to do, and I just feel like going, here's all this stuff with loads of graphics and AI things and stuff that you can buy. No, it's not. It's not what we need currently. What we need is a team that's
Yeah.
going to go out on the pitch, do the basics right. And I've said this time and time again, the match day experience can still be enhanced by doing very little and spending very little. Like half time, whether it's me or someone else, it doesn't matter. Half time is absolutely horrendous at the club. It was all right on Thursday because they had the blooming Salvation Army doing Christmas songs. Great,
That's
because it's
good. Okay.
something to take your mind off things or distract you. But there are so many other things that they could do that are
Yeah.
just really small wins.
Yeah,
That they're
that's
not
why they
doing.
should have it doesn't even have to be like a thing like you said. Like the Hearts, they just get like local clubs
Yeah,
and
anything.
town teams, and they play on the pitch at halftime, and that's what happens at halftime, and that's always fun because most people are moving around doing stuff, but like if I want to stop for a minute as kids playing football, that's always funny. Yeah, I'm not going to the matches all the time, but I just think that as we've said on this podcast many times, you can get the quick hits of excitement with things outside of football. But you run a football club. At the end of the day, you're not expected to be profitable and you're expected to go out and win games. And that's how you get the fans on side.
Yeah.
And you can do all the extra fancy stuff. Doesn't matter if you don't win football games.
As a human being, from what I see from afar, I really like Rob. I think
I do think he's got his heart in the right place.
Exactly what I was going to say. I really do. I think he is, coming across as a humble fan as I am and as we are. He seems like he's trying to do it for the right reasons. That could be incredibly naive, right? But for me, I feel like he is trying to do these things. I just think they can refine them a little bit and just go, what do we actually need here? We've got a new sound system, but it doesn't work. It's worse than the last one. Great, we've got fireworks and smoke machines and stuff when they come out, but is that something we really need for this game? There's a level of League One football that just needs to be sensible and just needs to be measured and just think about it a little bit. Don't always go for these big days because it's not drawing people in. It's just not.
Yeah, no, I do think that like sometimes when American owners come in, they struggle to understand that football in the UK is a lot more humble than franchise sport is in the US, and it's less related to the team and the franchise, and it's more related to the community that it is representing.
The fabric, isn't it? That's what this club
Guys,
is.
yeah, it's a fabric of your community. Yeah, exactly. And like, don't get me wrong, like the Hearts are building something incredible in America. There's lots of like football teams that are building like great things in America. But I do think that like when I look at Kuig and the mistakes that he has, in my opinion, made, I think they're coming from his experiences and are not from any kind of malicious intent or anything like that. I do think that he has the best aims of the football club at heart.
So do I.
And I do believe him too, that he's found like issues and things that he didn't know were going to be there. The less said about one individual who's popped his head out of the woodwork, the better this week. Who I think that,
I was
yeah,
thinking back to that pod we did with Sarah, and
yeah,
it's probably the most irritated I've been on a pod, I think, to be honest.
yeah, it was a little frustrating. Anyway, again, less said about that, the better. Shall I go on to a different question so we get away
Yeah,
from
go
this
on.
topic?
This is a bumper one, isn't it, listeners?
Proper
This is a
fucking
real
bumper.
meaty. Stop swearing, Sim.
I know. I
Quick,
mucked up recently when I was coaching, and then I immediately like said the F word. I was like, that's worse. um, James Williams,
This is a
go ahead.
meaty one. Yeah, go on. Give us another question. What else you
James
got?
Williams, afternoon, lads. Love the podcast. Thanks, James. We love you.
Appreciate it.
Quick question for you. What benefits?
Make it quick, mate, please.
Yeah. No, this is quite funny the way he words it. What benefits, if any, do you think Kamari Doyle brings to the team?
Oh, well, I was going to go zero. What I found
Chef's
interesting, right,
Yeah.
was he got in a lot of space on Thursday.
Yeah.
And you're going to
Yeah.
tell me that he received the ball 25.1% of the time or something.
No. I ain't got anything for you on Kamari Doyle really in this game.
They're not giving, the players aren't giving him the ball, are they? They're not giving him the ball.
No, yeah, for sure. They're not really like, we haven't played with a 10 in quite a while. Like we've kind of played with like a 2-8 system for a very, very long time. I mean, I guess Harvey Nibbs sort of did it, but he was sort of jumping forward from a right-sided 8 position as well. And then Charlie Savage would drop a little bit deeper. And by the way, losing Nibbs from this lineup has definitely hurt the team, again, more than I anticipated. It's a fun thing about football analysis. You're always wrong in some way or other. I do think that we don't really know how to get the ball to him. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like we haven't played with a player in this particular position for a very long time. He has been pushing forward into sort of like this 4-4-2 press thing that leads to him being really far forward with, whether it's Kelvin or Jack Marriott. And I think that sometimes that means that, he's returning from an area. It's taking him longer to get back into position. But I do think also that there's a sense of like we've spent the last year chucking the ball down the channel and looking for like the winger or the fullback, making like a run towards the post. And that's not where Kamari Doyle is. And I even like we moved him kind of out to the right sided spot against Bradford to see if that would end up with him getting the ball more. And it didn't really, in my opinion, in that game either. So yeah, I think also he is that kind of like luxury player to the point that when things aren't going well for him again, it's kind of like Kelvin, it's noticeable. And he's not necessarily like a player who's going to snap in and win the ball back a load of times. So I think he's benefiting a little right now from there not being tons of competition for his spot, certainly. But at the same time, I would say that finish against Blackpool really showed a great sense of like how and when to arrive in the box in space. So I do think that like he is actually drifting into some good positions, but this team are not doing a great job of connecting with him. I think you got it spot on pretty much with one of the first two things you said there, Ben.
I mean, I was just looking at some of his stats. He's played 19 times in the league, 3 in the EFL Cup, 1 in the EFL Trophy. So what I'm saying is he's had 24 appearances.
For a young player, like we were saying earlier, like, is Liam giving enough time to young players? Well, Kamari Doyle has gotten a lot of time and he's 20 years old. Kamari Doyle was born in 2005. I hate that. But anyway, carry on. Yeah.
He scored 2 goals. He got 3 assists. Like,
yeah,
that's not horrific. That's 5 goal involvements over 24
in a team
appearances.
that's been bad.
It's not the worst, is it?
It could be a lot better for sure. And I do think that he was really just like a non-factor in the really bad week. So that's probably like partially what's going on here. And he just hasn't had like a light everything on fire moment yet that people can remember, I think. But again, like 3 goal involvements already in a team that doesn't score that many goals. Who else would you play instead of him in that position if you want to play a
this is it.
4-2-3-1?
I mean, he's listed as having 11 games
Mm-hmm.
as an attacking midfielder, 4 in central midfield, so a little bit further back, and then 1 on the left wing. I mean, it's a good question, and this is symptomatic of where these players sitting within the fan base at the moment. I've just dropped a Sharpie. That's a disaster, isn't it?
Well, he can pick. Kamari Doyle would be very good at picking up Sharpies, so we know that one.
It's gone everywhere. It's flipping permanent markers. Other permanent markers are available before people come after me, but
you
this
clean
one
yourself up.
Is a Sharpie. Yeah, I don't know. It's just another player where it's like it's just a bit meh.
I can see him working out.
If Kamari Doyle that injured for a little while, people aren't going to be like, "Oh God, are they?" That's what you want. You want players to be like, "Oh, they're out," and that's a major problem. That's really what you want as a fan, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like Pereira and Marriott are probably the only players that we feel like that about right now in this team. Maybe Wing, but I'm not so keen. We got an email from Addy, so we got to read this one out.
Oh, this would be nonsense. This would be absolute twaddle. And do you know that Paul Lynch reference I said earlier, right?
Yeah.
That was her. She texted me and said, one of my friends just called me Paul Lynch because she was ranting and raving about you, as in you, Ross Weber, talking about XG. And I thought, that's pretty funny, actually. I'm going to take that. The Bay fans are going to nick it.
There is a very easy...
What's she want to say for herself? What's she whinging about?
Well, I love number one. I love XG. No, they're making an XG for misses now too. Anyway, will merch / a T-shirt that depicts the exact moment Ben said, "Ooh, spicy" on it be available for Christmas 2020? Which I do like that.
If we have not got a simple line of merch out this time next year, I'll be really disappointed, if I'm honest. I will be.
Sounds like you got a lot of work to do. I love how you like to say these things while looking at the editor of your podcast. You're like, "Oh, if we haven't done this." Yeah, I know, right? Like, try showing up for the podcast.
Well, yeah, I just always think we could be in a situation where you end up, say we make 100 T-shirts.
Yeah.
What if we only sell 2?
What if we end up with the T-shirts stuck underneath the ground like Missy Kuig has to go find them?
Yeah, they'd just be in like a shed somewhere. And we'll have to go to the Voldemort and go, basically what happened was we ordered all of this tat there at once. Can we have just a little bit more money to cover our losses, please?
Yeah. How much money have you lost?
Yeah. How much? Has all the money gone? Yes.
Well, they were Uniqlo T-shirts. She's got more questions. Sorry, go ahead.
Fine, that was it.
Yeah. Can you dissect why Ross says U21 instead of under 21s when he talks about youth squads? Is that a thing? Do I say that too much?
You do say U21. You did it earlier, actually. I was just laughing to myself.
Yeah. It's a youth squad. Well, I'm a youth coach, so I think it's just like, and I've had teams that are like U18 through U6, so it's like you just sort of get used to just saying U blah blah blah. And then I took a photo of my U10 squad this weekend because they kept a clean sheet in a game, which at youth level I was thrilled. Yeah, so we won 4-0. So I had a nice picture of them with that. I was very proud of them. Last question, she asks, when's the women's team episode planned for? And then the little googly eyes emoji.
I mean, we keep saying it, and we've not done what we wanted to do with that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing else to say on that. It would probably require us doing 2 in a week. But what I would say, based on prior conversations, Abby, is that we would be very happy for you and somebody else to do some regular women's pods if you wanted to do that under the TT umbrella.
It would be really good. My biggest...
Just saying.
No, yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. I'm wearing my Hearts of Pine hat right now.
Give it a rest. XG Hearts of Pine.
XG and Hearts of Pine. That's all I talk about. Something I haven't talked about as much. U21. My favorite team that I've started following this year is Racing Louisville in the National Women's Soccer League over here. it's been great. Like I've had a client who likes them, so I started watching them too, and I am completely hooked.
Did you say Racing Louisville?
Yeah, they're called Racing Louisville. And it says "Run with Us" on my jersey, which is very cool. But yeah, they're really cool. The NWSL is great. Like it's really good football. And like as soon as they put it on like TV, I'm like, great, I'll watch that. I don't care. Like just put it on television and I'll watch it. Yeah, but I agree. So that's me watching a different women's team. We need to do a better job of supporting the Reading women for sure.
I think, I think there is a market for it. I don't know, because the problem is obviously this pod is the pod, and if we were going to do a women's pod, we'd have to get one or both of Abby and Peter on anyway. So it just makes sense for them to pick up the back. Like I would be really happy with them doing it. I'm sure you would be as well. It would be up to them how regularly they would do it, but they're the best placed people to do it, and there would be a market for it. You know, the better the team becomes, and regardless, there's still a consistent fan base there that would want to hear that. So, you know, they're best placed to be able to do it. So, you know, Abby, I'm very, very happy for you to, it's not my decision. We would be very happy for you to just crack on and do that for sure. So yeah, but we've not been great with it over the last couple of years. We just haven't done it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But if you want to hear hosts who were better with it, we at the Christmas show, we'll have 2 hosts that actually had segments in their show. So that'll be good.
Yeah, exactly right.
Speaking of segments, I think this one's done, isn't it?
Is it? Well, we're finito. Fine. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those flipping pilgrims then.
Do it.
Right, final part of episode 444.
Well, I've never put together that they're the Pilgrims because they went from Plymouth, obviously, and then the Rock in
Monday.
The Rock in New England.
Their mascot. Google their mascot is Pilgrim Pete. I think he's hilarious.
All right.
Really
I'll
funny.
look up Pilgrim Pete. But there's a Plymouth Rock over here in Massachusetts where they actually touch down. So that's kind of interesting.
That's what you celebrate Thanksgiving for, by the way.
Is it? Okay, that's good to know. We celebrate it because a woman in the 1800s bothered Abraham Lincoln to the point that he just got bored and said, okay, fine, we'll do that. That's why Thanksgiving
I thought it was about the English Pilgrims.
Yeah, well, that's the story they tell, but, you know, it's a lie. So anyway, carry on.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What I'm not thankful for is Plymouth hitting a disgustingly good run of form after Tom Cleverley was basically a dead man walking for about 3 months. Couldn't buy a win, that man. And now they are, well, they're not storming up the table. They're currently 17th on 25 points. Same as us, really. But they are, interestingly, over the last 6 games, they're 4th in the league in terms of form, having won their last 3 games. And the last one being 5-2, I think it was. Yeah, 5-1 away at Doncaster. And we got to play them next.
Storming it. I think we'll be all right, though. No? What's the worst that could happen? It will only be on Boxing Day at their ground when their fans will be in force and loud and all of those things. I have just seen Pilgrim Pete, though, and that will be the scariest possible thing that they could run into.
He's got big man syndrome.
That is one heck of a mustache. I'll just say that much.
It's you know, like cats have their whiskers as wide as their body so they can get through holes and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that's with Pilgrim as well. Like you look at that whole thing just pans out, that giant mustache.
Like that. Do you know the main thing honestly, mate, the main thing I'm thinking is I just really find skin colored mascots unsettling. I find this totally unsettling.
Yeah. Just paint in blue or something.
Yeah, make him he's part of Avatar or whatever.
Crazy, absolutely ridiculous. What I love as well is that these previews get worse and worse every single week. They're just rubbish.
It's just
there's got to be the worst part of the podcast.
There's no preview.
I watch all these others, I've done it as well, where it's mainly Norman clubs that go, oh, do you want to come on and talk about your club or whatever? And I do that. And we just here go, yeah, just look at their mascot.
Yeah, it is a really funny mascot, though, to be fair. I definitely recommend you go take a look at him. You know it's a good mascot because there's 6 different queries that you can use to find him. And there's old school pictures of him as well. So the skin-coloured gloves are really, really unsettling, though. So don't go anywhere near those. So anyway, Reading have nothing to fear other than Pilgrim Pete itself. And I think that, anyway, look, Reading have had like I said, I think Reading have been pretty good under Liam so far. I think there have been things that can be better, but I'm willing to think that week from hell was a week from hell, and it just happens from time to time. There was a no hunt week in December last year, shortly after he came in, that was just rancid, and we lost two games back to back. I think at least one of those was at home as well. So I'm willing to think that we can put things behind us. The thing that makes me more willing to believe that there's something going on here is that Liam, while I've seen him get out coached in games, he does at least change things to try to react to what is going on around him, which I appreciate. Like, it's not like, no, like keep doing the same thing over and over again and hope for a different result this time. He is changing things around. He clearly had very different instructions around the Yeardom compared to, Kelvin and Brafer, and other things like that. So I hope that we have some sort of, game plan here that is partially related to them, because it seems that Liam always wants to have his plan partially related to the opposition, kind of in that old school Mourinho way. But we want to see, obviously, the thing, we want to see like an identity forming on the pitch. So I hope for more touches for Kamari Doyle. I hope that this is a game that he can impact, because even though Plymouth have had a good run for the last, few weeks, there's still not been a fantastic team this year.
No.
So I think that they can definitely be got at.
They have obviously Laurent Talage, I think that's how you say it. He scored 3 goals at the weekend. He's the division's top scorer to my knowledge. He's a player that's banging form at the moment. And what is interesting about Saturday is they went a goal behind within 5 minutes, and he just then hit 5 without reply, which is pretty impressive, really. There's a developing resilience within that team. Whether or not Tom Cleverley sees out the season is another question altogether. But he's done very, very well to weather this difficult storm, right down on the south coast there. So I think it's a game that we should look at and as you say, not be too concerned about. But if we get a draw out of it, that's a positive result. And where we are as a club at the moment, and where we have been over the last couple of seasons, is just keep getting positive results, particularly wins at home.
Yeah.
Nick a point here or there away. We're not prolific at winning away games at all over the last 4 or 5 seasons. So if we go there and we get a point, we've had a nice break, and it's Friday that we play, isn't it? Is it 26th? Yeah, Friday's the 26th.
Yeah.
It's just over a week gap, which is unusual at this time of year. So hopefully that'll work in our favour, and then we're obviously off to Peterborough, 3 days later. So there are some games that are winnable at this stage. But now
I'm enjoying my football more.
Well, I think one of the things I feel a bit disconnected with is because of it's the disjointed nature of the schedule.
Yes,
we
definitely.
don't have a home game at 3:00 on a Saturday until the end of January, which ironically is Louisiana Day against Barnsley.
It is. Okay, there you go.
Well, surprise. But it just feels very, very stop-start, and there's not been a rhythm. I don't feel like I've been able, as a fan, to get into a rhythm.
It's frustrating because it feels like it's related to not the EFL, to Wrexham and their increased popularity. Because just so you guys know, every time there's a game on Thursday or at a weird time, it means that it's on TV over here in America. And they've put it on Thursday afternoons, partially to serve that audience that's used to watching matches and things like that on Thursdays over here, and partially obviously for the Sky audience as well. Like, there's the domestic audience that will always be there. But yeah, it is really, really frustrating, the stop-start nature of it. But the thing that I am enjoying since Liam came in, much higher average number of goals per game, and sometimes that goes for Reading and sometimes that goes against Reading, but you're seeing more goals. So if you think you are seeing more exciting games overall, or at least more eventful games overall, because the XG hasn't been that much higher since Liam came in, then yeah, I would say that yes, you are. So at least there are more goals now. That's nice.
Well, it's another test in what has already been a very testing season. Tom Cleverley gets a result out of it with his team. That's 4 in a row, which is pretty impressive, in this league, to go on that run of form, given the way they started. So, we're always up against it away from home anyway. For whatever reason, other clubs seem to manage away games, but we have not been able to do that in recent history. So we can hope for kind of a belated Christmas present in the shape of at least a point, hopefully. And then we go across to Peterborough, as I said, 3 days later, back at home on New Year's Day for the visit of Burton Albion. And then 3 days later, we've got Stockport. So the games are coming thick and fast. We then got a break because of the FA Cup. And it's just one of those, just goes round and round in circles.
Yeah.
From our point of view, this is obviously the last one before Christmas, which it's been nice. It's been a long one. So hopefully you enjoy that while you're washing up after your turkey and Yorkshire puddings or whatever.
Avoiding your family when it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you've had far too much time with them. We are a good companion for that.
Exactly. We're good at distracting tactics.
Yeah.
We will be back. We knocked out a schedule, which I think was hopefully useful to you guys, but we will be back. Let me just check it. Hold on. It is
Soon.
there.
Oh, he wrote a whole schedule, listeners, and everything.
With my Sharpie.
And then it took him less than 24 hours to reach out and change the schedule.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So we'll be back. We'll be, I'm trying to think. So the next one will be out on New Year's Eve because we're recording on the 30th. And that's to review the Plymouth and Peterborough games, which hopefully will give us 6 points. But more importantly than that, we have ex-hosts Mark and Wim to come on to chat about those 2 games, but to also do a little guest segment where they're going to do the TTE Christmas Awards, because effectively we completely messed it up last year. It was absolutely awful. If you want to laugh, go and listen to it. Where I don't think we actually even announced the final winners, and Wim had to go back for the history book and actually work out what we were trying to say. So this year we will still be on that pod. We'll do the normal bit in inverted commas, and then Mark and Wim are going to take over for the Christmas Awards or the end of year awards, whatever you want to call them, which would be nice. It'd be nice for nostalgia. I know a lot of you really like Mark, and obviously really like Wim as well. So hopefully you'll enjoy that one. That'll be out on New Year's Eve, early morning on New Year's Eve, to see you into the new year, and then we'll kind of back into a bit of a normal cycle, really. But we got quite a few games to
bit of a normal Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, nothing, Thursday cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just put a pin in it, and you'll land appropriately. So yeah, that's where we're at. Listen, have a really, really good Christmas. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, just have a nice time eating and watching films and stuff or whatever.
Enjoy your holidays and whatever you do.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
But are you going to do the quote?
I wasn't, but
Do it.
Enjoy it by being disciplined.
Exactly right. Exactly. You can't say it without doing that. I was going to sing you a song to lead us out, but I don't think my voice is up to it. So instead, if everyone can go and listen to Don't Cry It's Christmas by David Brent. I just find it hilarious, that song. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's a little bit before my time, but I'll go back and listen.
It's just so funny. So funny. And then I got into his whole album. I was listening to Slough, the song Slough. It's just stupid, but it's very funny. Let's have a lovely Christmas.
Have a lovely Christmas yourself.
We will see each other again next week for episode 445.
We'll be in that nether region between Christmas and New Year's, whereby days become
just that weird haze of brandy butter and sleeping.
Yeah.
So yeah, have a really good one, as Ross said, but do it by being disciplined. We will see you again on the Tilehurst podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Have a very Merry Christmas, and we will see you very soon. Come on, you on.